Oh, no, sí, Michelle. Do I remember?
Good morning, buenos dias, welcome everybody. We will get started in just a few seconds. Make sure to sign in. The sign in is in the chat and we will get started, like I said, in just a few seconds. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Good morning again. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to our regional meeting, our second meeting for the month of July. And thank you all for being here with us and joining our meeting today. Can go to the next slide, please, Steph. Oh, I don't see it online, sorry. So we'll have Carmen join us and talk a little bit about the translation options that we have.
Buenos días y bienvenidos a la reunión. Si desean escuchar esta reunión en español, pueden estar en su computadora o laptop. Abajito en su tablero van a mirar un símbolo de un mundo que dice interpretación y van a elegir el idioma en español. Si están en su celular o tableta, van a elegir los tres puntitos de abajo donde dice more o más y ahí van a poder elegir el idioma de preferencia también. Gracias.
Thank you, Carmen. Next slide, please. So we'll be recording our session. I think you already had started recording. Okay, next slide. So today what we want to make sure is at the conclusion of our meeting today, we want to be able to get a review of all the data mats that we've done for the last several months. We're also going to begin to talk about how we're going to prioritize or how we're going to choose what our new community change agenda or agendas are. And then we're also going to have an understanding of the demographic survey that was conducted. And we have a guest who will be going over some of those findings. Next slide. So for today's agenda, we will have an icebreaker. We will review our meeting agreements. And like I said, we will have a report about our demographic survey. We'll do the data mat review and we'll close out with announcements and upcoming events. So I'm going to hand it over to our colleague Omar, who's going to walk us through the icebreaker.
Hello, everyone. Okay, so for today's is icebreaker. It'll be get to know your community better. Does anybody know what the graduation rate in the AV is? Or would like to take a guess?
Could you ask that question again, Omar? It was a little broken up. I think you're on mute.
Diana, you were on mute. We couldn't hear what you were saying. Sorry.
I said, I didn't hear the question. It was broken up.
My apologies. What is the average graduation rate in the AV?
Some of these trivia questions are going to come out of our data mats that we've been covering over the last couple months.
And assume we're talking high school graduation.
Yes. Yeah, so someone said 60%, Martha said about 85%. The actual average graduation rate for high school in the AV is 67%. Does anybody know what the median household income in West Lancaster is? It was also part of our data mats. Okay, so the median household income for West Lancaster is 73,351. Okay, so last one. Does anybody know what the #1 health issue in Antelope Valley is? So Diana put mental health, Martha put mental health. We have asthma, hypertension, HTN, and DM. So the #1 health issue in Antelope Valley is COPD, so chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and emphysema.
Thank you, Omar, for running that little bit. We can go to the next slide, please. So if I can get a volunteer, anybody online who would like to read out our meeting agreements. Don't be shy. Come on, somebody wants to do it.
I can read them, Sylvia. Oh, I think you're frozen, but I can go ahead. Is that okay?
Martha,
Yes.
go
I
ahead.
Okay. It is be punctual, stay present and engaged and on topic. Put the focus on the future. Be authentic. Be yourself. One person speaks at a time. Agree to disagree respectfully. Finish your sentence, not your paragraph. Step up, step back. Exercise confidentiality when necessary. Be patient and open to the technology. Keep your video on if possible. Assume positive intentions. A rainy day will make flowers. Separate person from the role. Be creative and have fun.
Thank you, Martha. I appreciate that. And just want to, when we talked about be patient and open with the technology, we are coming to you live from Senator Scott Wilk's office. And so there's a little delay through the Wi-Fi here. So we're asking for a little patience because I know that there's a delay from us to you and you to us. Next slide, please. So I'd like to then hand off the microphone to Alejandra Portillo, who is one of our consultants that we're working with, but she, along with Kelly Timmons, Denise Fawcett, and Diana Couch, developed and conducted a demographic survey that many of you took part in. So I'm going to go ahead and good morning, Alejandra, welcome. And we can stop sharing. And if you want to share your slide, your screen.
Thank you, Sylvia. Hi, everyone. I'm Alejandra Portillo. Thank you for having me in your space today. As Sylvia mentioned, I support the Best Start Region 5 team in data and evaluation. And so on June 15th of last month, you all participated on a demographic survey that Diana Couch, Kelly, and I developed to start capturing a snapshot of the demographic breakdown of all of you who participate in these meetings. And so today we have the survey findings and we want to engage with you, share the survey findings and engage with you on a data sense making session so that we can begin to analyze what these data say about folks who come into the meetings and perhaps inform outreach efforts and just get a discussion from you to see what findings resonate with you. Are you able to see my screen? Yeah, yes, okay. So for this session, the results are we want to engage in data sense making around the regional partnership demographic data, uplift reflections and recommendations for the regional partnership. The first thing we're going to do is highlight some background and importance of demographic data. And then we're going to engage in some data sense making around the demographic snapshot data map. And again, I want to emphasize that the data you'll be seeing today is not community level data, but it's data based on the survey that many of you were able to complete in the June 15th partnership meeting. And we'll go into a little bit about why we collected this information from you. So the survey was administered during the June 15th partnership meeting. There was an online and paper version, and we had community members who supported the data collection, Diana, Denise, and Kelly. So Diana, Denise, and Kelly reviewed the survey prior to us administering it. They provided recommendations, and then they also sat down with me and folks from the Best Start Region 5 team to analyze some of the data and uplift some nuances before we brought it to you all here. So I just want to give a big thank you to Diana, Denise, and Kelly. So if we can do some spirit fingers or emojis to really thank them for their insight and the dedication and their volunteer time to supporting this data collection effort. So super thankful. And, you know, as our evaluation and data work progresses, we invite all of you to also support us and with your insights around data collection and data analysis. So why did we administer the survey? So part of our learning and evaluation work for the regional partnership involves capturing a snapshot of the makeup of who comes to the meetings, what's their demographic background, what is their gender. And this data helps us with outreach efforts to describe who's part of the partnership and also assess if we're meeting short-term and medium-term outcomes related to outreach and related to the folks that we want to invite to the partnership meetings. So why is demographic data important? First of all, once again, it describes who's part of the partnership. It helps us assess our outcomes. It also helps us design regional meetings because, as you'll see, we collected data on the primary language of folks who attend these meetings. We collected data on zip codes of folks who come to the meetings. It helps us track change over time, and it also helps us identify needs and strengths in the community. And overall, it helps us tell a story of the regional partnership. And once again, I think once you see the data, you'll start seeing like perhaps you all can play a role in outreach and inviting more folks in that we don't see represented in the data. So how will we use this information? So we created an infographic to help us tell the story of our regional partnership. And this infographic has no identifying information of folks who completed the survey. And some of this data will also be used to report to First 5LA, who is our funder. And most importantly, it's going to inform the learning and evaluation work of the regional partnership moving forward. So I'm going to stop here because I've said a lot of information. So are there any questions or clarifications that I can offer to the group? Any thoughts? I'm scrolling through, don't be shy. Okay, and Diana, Kelly, Denise, if I missed anything, please feel free to jump in and provide your insights, please. Okay, so before we show you the data, I want to talk a little bit about what data sense making is. And what is the aim of this sense making session? So the aim is to share real-time emerging information. We collected the data in June and we turned it around fast for you so that we know that traditionally data and evaluators and researchers often go collect data, and folks that participated in the data collection or who gave information on an effort don't get results till really later on, or sometimes they don't see them or don't have access to them. And so part of our evaluation approaches is to ensure that we bring back information as soon as possible to the partnership. And so the aim is also to distill the information that we gathered through the demographic survey and uplift any nuances and context that I might not have, but that you all have. So as we go through the data, I'm going to ask you to keep the following guiding questions in mind. The first one is what information is surfacing for you? What resonates the most? What does this information reveal about the regional partnership? And how can the data be used for real-time learning? The next steps will be that we are going to incorporate some of the insights and perspectives that we gathered through this session. And then we're going to share and discuss findings with the Children's Bureau team. I know Diana, Kelly met with me as well, and they uplifted some recommendations around the data, which we will bring back to the Children's Bureau team, along with the comments and the sense making that you all do today. And so with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and switch to our data. And these data mats are also available in Spanish for those who are Spanish speaking. So be sure to please check your email after the meeting, because I know Stephanie and the team send out all the information. So if you need access to this in Spanish, we do have it available for you. So this is the infographic that we were able to create based on the data that we collected. So again, some background. We collected demographic data from community residents, stakeholders, and parents, and those who attended the meeting on June 15th. The survey was voluntary and anonymous, and it asked 13 questions that focused on gathering data about the demographic makeup of the Best Start Regional Partnership. This is only the first round of demographic data collection, and we hope that in the next 6 months, we can do another round of data collection. And so every 6 months, we'll be collecting this data so that we can track change over time and see how is the demographic makeup of those who attend this meeting changing or growing. And then in July 2023, we held a meeting with community residents who are part of the Best Start Region partnership. And we did a data sense making session with them, and we reviewed the data. They provided guidance on how to present this information and uplifted any additional context for the data points. So this infographic provides a summary of the results. So you probably remember that when you completed the survey, we asked you, when you come to this meeting, do you identify as a parent, a community resident, or stakeholder? And so this is the breakdown here of how you all responded. So here we have 55% of those who attended the meeting identified as stakeholders. Among this group, over half were also parents, so 64%. Parents were 35%, and then community residents 10%. I thought this was my highlighter, so let me erase this so it doesn't. There we go. Oh, here's my highlighter. So of those who identified themselves as stakeholders, they represented the following nonprofits or organizations. So we had Antelope Valley Partner for Health, the Child Care Resource Center. We have someone who identified as a cultural broker. We had folks from the Early Childhood Education, Lancaster School District, Los Angeles County Probation, LA County Department of Public Health, and then LA County Department of Children and Family Services. When it came to the racial breakdown of those who were present at the meeting and participated in the survey, we see that 45% identified as Hispanic, Latino, or Latina. 20% identified as African American or Black. And then we see 15% identified as Caucasian. And then we had 10% or less identified as other, American Indian, Alaskan Native, or Asian. And then when it came to the age of the regional partnership members, we can see that most of the members were between ages of 30 to 49 years old. In terms of the years of involvement with Best Start, we see that 3/4 have been involved with Best Start between 5 years or less, and the average years of involvement were 3.7 years. And in terms of the gender identity of the regional partnership members, 100% identified as female. And let's see, I'm going to go to the next. And please feel free to stop me at any time, to open up your mic if anything comes up for you. I really hope that this is more of a conversation for all of us. So I know we're all virtual and some of our cameras are off, but please feel free to chime in via chat or to unmute yourself if you have any questions or thoughts that come up for you as we're reviewing this information. So I see that Carla asked how many responses did we receive. We had a sample of 20 individuals who provided information at this partnership meeting. You're welcome. And our hope is that as we continue to do more data collection, that more folks are going to want to add their information to ensure that we capture a fuller picture of those who are participating in the meetings. And then we know that participation fluctuates. Some days we might have different folks coming in. So we hope that when we do this round of data collection, that more folks participate as they get used to hearing this information and reviewing more data. We also ask folks to report what is the highest level of education achieved by regional partnership members. And we can see here that a large proportion of folks have a higher ed degree, so either bachelor's or a graduate master's or PhD. We asked them in what country were the highest level of education, in which country they achieved the highest level of education. As you can see here, most said that it was in the United States, with 10% stating that they received their highest level of education in Mexico and 5% in the Philippines. The primary language of regional partnership members, 85% stated English and 15% said Spanish. And then I added this here so that you can see that there are no members who stated that they communicate via American Sign Language or any other language. We also asked around any special population. So we asked folks if they identified with any of these special populations here, and you can see that 75% stated that they were parents, and 20% said they were justice involved, and 10% unhoused or homeless. And about 5% said they were identified as immigrants, and 5% said LGBTQIA+. We also asked folks to state the zip codes that they lived in. And so here you can see that 35% of partnership participants said they were from the Palmdale or East Palmdale area. and 30% from Lancaster or East Lancaster. And then you can see the breakdown here for for Forts Hill and Palmdale and Rancho Vista area. We also asked for participants to give a breakdown of the individuals that were living in the home by ages. And we see here that 40% of folks who completed the survey had children 0 to 5, and 55% had children 6 to 18, and 20% had older adults residing in their home. We also asked folks to, if they were open to it, to provide their employment status. And we can see here that 40% were employed full-time, with smaller proportions reporting employed part-time, self-employed, or not employed, and 10% were retired. And then something that Diana was really that contributed to the design of the survey is that Diana said, we need to see if any folks that come to the partnership are receiving or participating in any public benefits, because that gives us important information about the makeup of the regional partnership. So as you can see here, 20% indicated that they were receiving Medi-Cal, 10% receiving CalWORKs, and 5% CalFresh. And the majority, though, of folks, you can see here, 80% did not receive any public assistance or benefits. Diana also suggested that we ask participants if they were participating in any other programs or community meetings outside of the regional partnership. And we can see here that over half said yes. And of those who selected yes, they were participating in all of these groups that you see here. So African American Infant and Maternal Mortality, Action for Kids. You can see the list here. Breastfeeding Coalition, Child Care Resource Center, Faith-Based, Home Visitation Coalition, LA Care. So you can see here that over half of the participants that completed the survey on June 15th were participating in other community programs. And then of those who selected parent as their membership type, they indicated participating in additional programs or community groups at higher percentages than other member types. So 71%. And so that is, like I said, we collected 13 data points. To keep the survey short, we didn't want to overburden any of the participants. And so now I'm just going to open it up to our reflection questions, which are: what resonates the most? What is surfacing? What does this information reveal about the regional partnership? And how can we use this data for real-time learning? And feel free to comment via the chat. Feel free to unmute yourself. I see here a comment that says many are parents. So definitely. So when we asked about special population, 75% stated that they were parents. Any other reflections, comments? I think the most important question is this one. What does this information reveal about the regional partnership? Are the folks that we is there any additional outreach that needs to be done?
Alejandra, we have some comments in the chat that maybe if I could share real quick.
Yes.
So there was I guess some of the stuff that stood out is that many are parents, that there's a need more men to come to the table and represent themselves in the as well. And like you said, this is definitely areas that are going to be they're going to be useful for us in terms of guiding our outreach efforts and our movements. So definitely some definite data that's standing out for all of us, for sure.
And I see Joseph said, it reveals who is missing or not represented. Definitely. So we can see, that we have, perhaps under the special populations, even thinking about your zip codes, if are the folks we partnership with.
What?
You're breaking up, Sylvia.
Okay, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, one of the things that really kind of caught my attention was that, as we've seen during the pandemic, the numbers of unemployment were pretty high, right? Many of our people in our community were affected. And to see on this data, how many people were actually employed was a pretty high number in terms of what it looked like maybe a year ago.
Mhm. So let me go back. So yeah, so 40%, so 50% were either employed full-time or part-time. So that's about half of the respondents. And then we did have a 15% that said not employed or looking for work. And then I see another, thank you so much, Flora mentioned, folks are involved in many community projects and coalitions. So definitely that is the strength of the community members in the partnership, is that you're all already connected to so many programs, coalitions, and efforts that are happening that you can build on those assets and strengths that you bring. And then Carla mentioned, it makes me wonder if any of these organizations have an intentional goal of being actively involved with Best Start. Might they have designated staff who attend these meetings? Thank you for sharing. That's definitely a great point. As far as, are any of these organizations that you're all part of or attending, or sending, staff members or dedicated staff to these meetings? So
There's another comment. Alejandra says it shows the passion and willingness of the community to be involved.
Mhm.
And there's I am new to the group, but I can see opportunities for sharing with my personal network.
Definitely. And I think with this data, definitely now that you're seeing, some trends, you can say, oh, I'm definitely going to reach out to more folks that I know. So definitely you all have a part to play in bringing more folks to the regional partnership meeting. Are there any other thoughts? I'm wondering if the folks that supported me during our Diana, Kelly, do any of you have any thoughts around the data?
I just like to see a larger group respond, so we can get an even better idea of what we're working with here as far as our community is concerned.
Definitely. Thank you, Diana. And I think as we do another round of data collection and you see that the data is coming back to you and how we're using it, I feel encouraged that I know that more folks will participate and complete the survey next time for sure. Any other thoughts?
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
It's Kelly.
Hi, Kelly.
One of the things that I noticed in looking at the information and all the data mats and then talking to a lot of people I know that work with a lot of different nonprofits is that everyone has a passion or some concerns about different things that are happening in the community, but it's almost like they need a central place to put all the ideas together and then someone come up with a solution. It's like reading the maps, we see the big goals, the long-term goals, what we can do, how we can research and figure it out and put a program together that could take several years, but some things are immediate, like right now.
Mhm.
And it's like a lot of the different organizations are looking for step 1, step 2, step that we can do immediate today, that we could walk out the door and fix something, because there's so many things that need to be fixed. It's like the people are asking for solutions for housing or for education or food or therapy or all these different things. We're talking about it in the big picture, projecting how all of these programs can be started, but for some people, they need something immediate. That's what I've noticed, is just little things. They need something, and I know the information's out there. That was just something that I noticed in talking to a lot of people and then reading some of the map. A lot of people have a lot of questions, and it's like they just don't have that one central place they could go to get an answer right now, not something projected for 6 months to a year from now, something right now. That was-
Thank you, Kelly. And I think
You're
that
welcome.
I think it's so important that you surface that, that there are immediate needs that are in the community. And so how do you balance planning long-term systemic solutions while addressing immediate concerns and needs in the community? And I think that's always the hard balance that, service providers, Investar, and everyone is trying to address at the same time, because we know that those immediate needs are also a result of systemic inequities, right? So how do we address immediate needs while thinking long-term systemic solutions? And then I see Omar said, how do I ensure that I'm part of future surveys? So when the next round of data collection comes about, what will happen is that we'll start announcing it to folks ahead of time, and there'll be folks here who will support us again with data collection. So we'll have a similar process where we have community members who support us to design the survey. We'll announce it to everyone and give everyone the option of participating. So our hope is that if you're still part of the group, that you'll complete it. Any other thoughts or questions? Any other ideas that resonate, that surface for you? Feel free to unmute yourself or use the chat.
We do have a comment in the chat, Alejandra. From Carla. It says, what Kelly is mentioning is making me think of committees that can actively support specific issues as a group. This way individuals can be more involved in areas that they have a specific interest in.
That's a really great point. And I think, Sylvia might be able to speak more to this, but as you all decide on your CCA, there are going to be committees that might be focused on specific issues like evaluation, policy, data, where if you find an affinity to that or an interest, that you can participate in that and support move the CCA forward and through those different committees as well. But I'll pass it to Sylvia if there's anything I missed around that.
No, you're absolutely right, Alejandra. One of the things that, we've been really intentional in terms of taking our time to evaluate the data, and really so that everybody has a clear understanding of when we choose what our community change agenda is, and have it be really something that the community all is, in with. But part of it is, once we choose the community change agenda, at that point, we're going to see that there's, like you said, there's going to be a need for several committees. We're going to have a data and evaluation committee. We're going to have a policy. We're also going to have whatever is specific to the community change. There has to be a committee around that. There's going to be a membership committee. So and what our goal is to take these committees and not just have, okay, we have all these committees, but really we've already identified a lot of our community members who are really, like, we can have somebody, and I'm just using an example like Kelly. Kelly could be like, I'm all policy. I want to be on that policy committee. But the more important part of this committee is that it isn't going to be run by us. It is going to be run by you. You are going to be leading that and spearheading that. And the committee chairs are going to be members of our Best Start community, and seeing how and what is happening in the community and how it's affecting, whether it's policy, how it's going to affect our community. And they're going to be able to bring all that information back to the partnership and say, okay, guys, there's this policy coming down. Everybody needs to get out and vote. Everybody needs to go out there and make some movement. Let's send some letters. That's the kind of work that's going to come out of the committees. And that's when we're going to really be able to see Best Start starting to do the community projects, the community work. Right now, we've been, for this last year or so, we've been really just setting up the base, setting up the structure and the framework. And we're almost to that finish line of that, and then start getting movement. As soon as we prioritize what our community change agenda is, we're going to be able to start hitting that ground running on the projects that we want to do in the community.
Thank you so much, Sylvia. Are there any other thoughts, questions around the data, any other insights that you all have before I go back to the slide deck and talk about any next steps?
Yo digo que sí sería bueno eso de que invitaran sobre todo a los jóvenes a que votaran, porque los jóvenes no le toman importancia al voto.
Definitely. Irma said that it would be important to ensure that youth are engaged, especially around voting. And so, sí, muchas gracias, Irma. Thank you so much, Irma, for sharing that insight, and definitely including in more youth voice. Anyone else? And so as we move forward with the data and data collection efforts, I really encourage you all to participate in these surveys, because it really supports us in understanding who's coming to the regional partnership meetings, tracking change over time, and if the folks that we need at the table are here at the table supporting the work that you're all doing. So let me stop sharing for a bit and then just go to the presentation. Again, the next steps will be that we are going to incorporate the insights and perspectives that we gathered through this session and share them back with the Children's Bureau team and the outreach team to ensure that they have this information. But I also encourage you to read the information and come back with any other insights that you might have. And so with that, I just want to say thank you to all of you. Thank you to everyone who completed the demographic survey. Thank you to all the community members who supported in the design and in the data collection of this effort that we did. And we hope that, like Diana said, that we have a bigger sample of folks who participate next time, so we can start tracking change over time for the regional partnership. So I'll be here till 11. If there are any other questions that you have, please feel free to send them over via chat. And with that, I'll pass it back to Sylvia.
As well, the Antelope Valley community is always thirsty for data. So we'll continue to bring that around and be inclusive in terms of who's designing, who's participating, and how the surveys are being done. So Steph, yeah, if you could get the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to be doing just a quick data journey of what we've been doing for the last couple of months. Many of you that are here today maybe are new or haven't or weren't here when we did some of these data maps. What we did is we, as a community and a partnership, we surveyed like what are the most important things, and we, like I said, there was actually 7 domains because one of them, a couple of them connected. And what we did is with Alejandra's help and our data manager and a lot of the data that has been gathered, not just through the census, but through some of the State of the Child report and other sources of data. We gathered as much as we could around that domain. And then what we did is we took a dive at every deep dive to one and talk about what the results were, talked about where the need is in our community. And some of this information was a little bit older, and we always wanted to make people understand that they're just, maybe other research or other data isn't available that's newer, then it'll guide us. It'll be a jumping board for us of where we need more data or where we need more information. So it's just kind of like an overview. And we really found that some deep and rich conversations occurred when we did each one of the data mats. It really, they're all important. There's not one, they're not in order of one is more important than the other. They are all issues that affect the community. But the whole point about having these data mats was that's how we began the process of deciding what our community change agenda would look like, what we wanted it to be for Best Start. So I'm going to go real quick through some of these